We've come now to Movie Spotlight, our weekly feature reviewing the latest releases at the Korean box office and online. And joining me now for that in the critics' chair, it is just one critic this week. It is the ever effervescent Jason Bechevaise. Jason, hello. It's great to see you.
Hello, Django. Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so two local releases to sink our teeth into this week. The first is this week's major release. It is a political thriller called The Devil's Deal. The title in Korean is 대회비. It stars Cho Jin-woong and Lee Sang-min and Kim Mu-yeol. Jason, can you tell us more? From what I know, I understand it is quite a dark film, right?
It is a bit. It's directed by Lee Won-tae. He helmed The Gangster, the Cop, The Devil that went to Cannes in 2019. And that was the year, of course, that Parasite won the Palme d'Or. He also directed Man of Will, starring Cho Jin-woong. And he's reunited here with the director. This film basically, Cho Jin-woong plays this aspiring politician called Jun Hae-wong in Busan in the 1990s. You know, the 1990s is often a period where the directors like to depict, and that's very much true here. Now, this particular character believes he will secure the party nomination to run for a seat in the National Assembly. But an influential power broker played by Lee Sang-min in the world of politics has other plans. So in response, Cho Jin-woong's character gets hold of confidential plans regarding a redevelopment project. So real estate very much plays a role in this film. And
yes,
so
a very topical subject.
As ever. And he collaborates with a gang boss played by Kim Mu-yeol, are you still with me, to run as an independent. Now, that doesn't go particularly well, and it sets off a never-ending kind of political game. With all the players kind of getting involved in corruption, murder, and other kind of nefarious scheming. It was actually filmed in 2021, so this is one of the films that's has been waiting to get released for some time. You know, one of the 80 or so titles that were delayed owing to the pandemic. Screened at a couple of film festivals, including Hawaii International Film Festival, also Fantastic Fest as well, you know, that has a strong appetite for genre cinema, so I can see why they were keen on screening this film.
Yes, there has been quite a popular subgenre of political thrillers / dramas over the years in Korea, right? How does this compare?
Yeah, you kind of go back to Inside Man, which I think that is a really good film. It's directed by Lee Min-woo, and that film was this kind of big sleeper hit. Features a prosecutor, a henchman, a journalist, and, you know, politicians. And, it was a significant film. You know, it sold, 7 million tickets. It is the most successful rated Korean film. And basically it started off a series of other films, as Asura, The City of Madness, starring Jung Eun-sun. And speaking of Jung Eun-sun, he was also in The King, which looks at prosecutors and the relationship between prosecutors and politics. What all these films share in common is that they are very, very male-dominated.
Sure. And
they feature characters that are either prosecutors, politicians, or, journalists, and sometimes, a combination of all three. Another film that's worth mentioning is Gangnam Blues, that was released in 2015. That looks at the relationship between real estate and politicians and various other things. So, The Devil's Deal is kind of part of this trend. I think, in a sense, it is very much, the same thing, I would say. It's a repetition. We've seen it before. I don't think it really sheds any, new light or perspective. Power corrupts the mind and soul. And so these characters, I think the thing I liked about Inside Men was it very much reveals this kind of, frankly speaking, ugly world of greed and power and just all this scheming and, retribution. But the centre of it was this Lee Byung-hun character that, I think audiences could empathise with. But in some of these other films, particularly Asura and also here, The Devil's Deal, these characters are just not particularly likeable. So you got the Jo Jin-woong character, who we do, as I was watching it, you certainly do feel some kind of empathy for. But, as he kind of gets because of the situation he's in, he's kind of, is forcing his hand, and there goes his soul. And by the end of it, you don't particularly have much affection for him. So it's not a particularly I guess it's not a film that has a happy ending, and sorry, not to reveal. I'm not really revealing a major spoiler, but I think some audiences might struggle with the fact that you come out feeling somewhat, frustrated. That it doesn't. I mean, sure, it tackles quite a serious issue, but I don't think. I think sometimes people go into the cinema to, sometimes it's escapism, but sometimes it's to enjoy a film and to kind of connect with characters. And I think perhaps audiences might struggle here. Right.
So unfortunately, it doesn't provide anything new, and at the same time, it doesn't provide any sort of empathetic characters that you can root for.
That's right, and it's also very much male-driven. There's two female characters in the film. One of them is the wife of the aspiring politician, and the other is a journalist. And they're pretty much, insignificant. I think it's a real shame, and especially the journalist character, who I thought was a more interesting character in the film, but I don't want to say too much more, but
sure.
It's one of these kind of very kind of male-driven narratives that I wish that we saw less of.
How do you think it will fare among audiences in Korea at the moment, though? Especially, as we said, it is quite topical, some of these themes about political corruption, real estate scandals, and all sorts.
Even though it was released, it was made, 2021. It very much kind of resonates today with some of the news. It opened pretty well, actually. It opened with 188,000 admissions on Wednesday, which is pretty good, given the current, situation in the film industry, where people are being very careful about, when they're watching a film, having to spend quite a lot of money on a cinema ticket. And the first slam dunk, this is the Japanese anime that's been number one for many several weeks now. It was forced into second place. So. But the problem is the reaction hasn't been particularly strong. Kind of reminded me of Asura, which opened really, really strongly. It had a big cast, with Hwa Jung-min and Jong Il-sung. But then it just tanked, in the second and third week. And the reaction here, I think, just going back to what I said earlier, I think it just makes audiences feel somewhat deflated. It's hard to really kind of connect with the film. And because it is quite dark. Although it is worth mentioning, it's a 15 rated film. It's not 18. It's not like super violent or anything like that. But it is well made. I'll give the director credit. It's the cinematography is good. Wasn't overly keen on the soundtrack. The acting is solid, but again,
sure.
these are actors. Lee Sung-min, Cho Jin-woong, they've played these characters before.
So just a bit grim, really.
Yeah, grim is a good adjective.
So that was The Devil's Deal. We're now moving into a streaming title to talk about today, as it is a release that has topped the Netflix global film chart non-English films. It's called Unlocked. The original Korean title is far more verbose, 스마트폰을 떨어뜨렸을 뿐인데, and it stars Chun and Si-wan. Jason, I understand that it's a film about identity theft.
That's right, and it's not a thriller. No shortage of Korean thrillers. And so, identity theft is a theme that I think's been tackled more recently in Korean films. On the Line, for example, that was released in 2020, that tackled this theme, focusing on a voice, I think it's 2021 actually, voice phishing scheme, starring Kim Mu-yeol, who is in The Devil's Deal. Now, Unlocked is a really simple concept. Chun plays this character. She's having a night out, she gets quite drunk, and then she loses her phone. And then she manages to get it back, but unfortunately, at which point it's been cloned. And she doesn't realise initially, but someone's getting access to all her accounts, and it basically, her life grinds to a halt, because the person who takes the phone is basically he's a serial killer. You know, he's not someone you want access to your phone. It's an okay film. It stars Chun, like I said. She's pretty good as the central lead. It's directed by Kim Tae-hoon. It's his feature debut. He's worked on films such as Confession and Office. Si-wan plays the villain. Similar kind of role that he played in Emergency Declaration, that awful film set on a plane. Also stars Kim Hee-won, and based on the Japanese novel Stolen Identity by Akira Shiga, that was adapted into 2 Japanese films.
Okay, so it has been a hit, as we said, on Netflix, it seems. So what do you make of that?
Yeah, it's okay. It's doing pretty well on Netflix. I can see why. I think it resonates, you know. I think we all, you know, do stuff. Well, not only do we do a lot on a phone, we do everything on a phone.
Indeed.
From banking to, you know, social media to searching on the internet to connecting with friends and family. You know, there's so much information on a phone that's pretty scary that if someone gets access to that, then, you know, your life, like I said earlier, it can grind to a real halt. I mean, the set pieces are okay. I think the problem with this movie, though, is it's very much reliant on cliches. You know, you've got this serial killer who's, you know, you see him kind of going through her phone, and you see that he's been killing people for several, you know, for over a period of time, and that there's a backstory there. And yeah, we've seen this again all before, but I think it just kind of throws in this kind of contemporary issue. And I think it could dig a bit deeper, but it's very much kind of reliant on those genre tropes. And to be fair, I think some viewers will find those pretty effective.
Okay, we are out of time, so we have to leave it there. So that was Unlocked. It's available now to stream on Netflix. That's all for Movie Spotlight. Jason, thank you for your reviews. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.